What's up, One Pride? This is RachelMarieSports, and I am very excited to be hosting the DSA Roundtable for the first time tonight. We have a really cool show lined up for you. We have a very special guest, but first I'm going to introduce the rest of the panel for the night. Jim, how you doing today?
Doing really good. Excited to talk Lions football tonight with all my friends here on the panel.
Awesome. And then we have Luke G. What's up, Luke?
Hey, salute to everyone who's in the building. I know y'all still trickling it in, but if you get in here late, please remember to hit that like button and make sure you subscribe. And listen, y'all have no idea how much work that goes into this. So the fact that she's hosting this on one of our bigger interviews, kudos to her. Make sure y'all get the queen some love, get them lights up, people. But get ready for a good show. Get your popcorn ready and get a little extra butter if you need that as well.
Thank you very much, Luke. And then we have Right or Wrong. What's up, Ryder?
What's going on, Rachel? As Luke said, hope this one goes good as your first time hosting, but I'm ready to talk some Lions football and have some fun tonight.
Awesome. And our last but certainly not least panel member, we've got 313 JMO, Heart of the City. What's up, JMO?
What's good, everybody? What's good, everybody in the chat for your Detroit Lions roundtable? I am so excited to talk some Lions football. Let's get it going.
Awesome. And our special guest tonight, I did have to ask him how to pronounce his last name a little bit earlier, but we have John Maakaron from SI All Lions. John, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
Oh, thank you guys for having me. Any opportunity to talk Detroit Lions football, I'm down for it. I'm looking forward to it. I've listened to past shows. I love your guys' energy. Like I said before, I was a little surprised it took this long to get me on here, but now that I'm here, we're going to bring the noise. And my goal for this session that we have today is to have you guys say, okay, that was the most energetic, the wildest guy that we ever had, and we can't wait to get him back on again.
Listen, you already winning in my book.
I think I'm already thinking that. So,
Right.
Awesome. Right. Well, tonight we're going to go ahead and our panel have prepared some questions for John. If we have time, we'll take some questions from the chat from you guys. But let's just go ahead and roll right into it. We'll start with you, Jim.
Okay. My first question for you, John, is do you think we're going to actually have an NFL season this year? What is your gut feeling telling you on that?
Listen, I'm a guy that always goes follow the dollar. And if you're hearing the numbers that says hundreds of millions of dollars will be lost, they'll find their own private island to put football on. They'll build something within 3 weeks to figure out to play football. Look, I don't think that it's going to start on time. But I do think with all the dollars that are involved in terms of television and what would be lost by these owners, they're having meetings like this and wondering, okay, how much would be lost if we cut out 2 games, 3 games, 4 games? So they know exactly what would come in. So I do believe that there will be football. I think some things that they got to iron out involves player safety. Should they quarantine entire teams? Should organizations be in a bubble? But, when there's that much money at stake, absolutely there'll be football. But I just don't think potentially the thing you can maybe assume is that maybe the start of the season, maybe the first 2 to 4 weeks, there could be a delay. But right now, everything is scheduled to start on time, but we just got to sit back and wait and see how these positive cases affect baseball and other sports. But for me, there is no way in hell they don't play a season in 2020. No way.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, that answer makes me feel pretty good because I've been pretty concerned about that recently myself. So that's a breath of fresh air, definitely. What about you, Luke?
To kind of piggyback off the season, I'm gonna go in a direction that people are gonna expect, but your view with us now having a new principal owner in Sheila. I don't call her Mrs. Ford or Mr. Hemp. That's Miss Sheila, okay? And Miss Sheila, if you're really nasty, okay? So to me, the question is this: do you believe that the mandate is still on, or do you believe that it's 10 times worse, where it's like, no matter what they do, she's probably gonna go in a different direction?
Okay. In regards to Sheila Ford Hamp, look, she's been behind the scenes. She's been right there by her mother's side because look, Martha Ford got the team when she was in her late 80s. How much was she really involved day to day other than just sitting in meetings and understanding and deferring to a lot of people? Remember, this is a family affair with this ownership group. The Lions have a board, and so a lot of these decisions have been made by the members of the board and Sheila Ford Hamp. So recall that she was part of the meeting with the 5 local media members when they actually decided to keep Quinn and Patricia. So this transition that we've all seen, while yes, it's her new title, she has been in this role per se now for the better part of 6 years. She's been learning, she's been observing, she's been there to try and figure out a way to get this organization moving forward. Now, with the mandate, okay, look how vague they intentionally left it so that they could potentially keep these guys. I was of the opinion, me personally, that after a 3-win season, after the start that Patricia had, after the expectation when your general manager says 9 wins is not good enough, then a 3-win season, even though you have a rash of injuries, you got to get blown out. You should have been fired. And especially, on the heels of Bob Quinn saying 9 wins isn't good enough. So now they're trying to backpedal and sell this thing as a rebuild. Look, I kind of agree with some of the former players that are gone and said this thing probably didn't need a complete rebuild. It just needed a couple fine-tuned pieces to come in here and get this thing over the hump. So for me, this mandate that she says, I thought personally, when you listen to it, it was all lip service to get the fans off her back because you just saw the fans get so highly upset and frustrated. You guys saw there were fans that created a huge, large banner with her mother's face on it that got on national television. That was embarrassing that everybody saw because the fans were livid with how that season went. So she just said that we need playoff contention. But remember, guys, playoff contention could be 7-9. You could be battling all the way. So what we probably should have done as the media was we should have stuck it to her and said, look, if the Lions don't make the playoffs, are Quinn and Patricia going to be here? But guess what? An article I wrote at SI All Lions says coronavirus could actually save Matt Patricia's job. Let's say, for example, the Lions are 5-4 and half the offensive linemen get coronavirus. Then that leaves the wiggle room open for Sheila Ford Hamp to say it's not his fault. He was, he got the team better. It was coronavirus's fault. Look, in my mind, this is the National Football League. It's a results-oriented business. If you can't get the Detroit Lions into the playoffs after 3 years, you need to be gone. But in my mind, the mandate's all lip service. I think they'll be back if they can get to probably 7-8 wins.
Wow. I swear it's like John is in my head. I have been saying that from the get that literally that, like, listen, I'm telling y'all, I've told the subscribers and the listeners and I promise you, they're going to let him work this whole entire 4 years out, and they're going to use Corona as the excuse. And you just confirmed it with me. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I knew Luke was gonna be right there with you on that one. But my question actually, and I'm just gonna take next because it piggybacks off of Luke's question as well. In your article about Sheila Ford Hamp, she stated that she was going to be running decisions by the family. And what does that mean to you? Should that concern us as fans, or do you see that as a good thing that she's kind of seeking counsel with the family?
Okay, let's kind of peel it back a little bit. The good thing about what the family has done is they've put the Lions football operations in charge of Bob Quinn. So when we're talking about big decisions, we're talking about, okay, should we fire Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia, stuff with the stadium, stuff with the league. So the big decisions we're talking about that she obviously is going to call upon the support of her family. But day to day in football, she still trusts Bob Quinn to operate the football side of things. And so that's why you're seeing this complete overhaul. Remember now that Bob Quinn has taken this roster and overhauled it to bring in more guys that will support Matt Patricia. So I agree with her stance that, hey, look, she's going to be involved in the process. She's going to be an owner. But let's not get it twisted. She's not going to be in there in that locker room going, hey, why is Matthew Stafford throwing the ball 40 times? Let's get it down to 15. That's going to be on Bob Quinn. So what her job is going to be is to oversee, the big things with the stadium, the league, what's going on in the business side of everything. So that's where she's going to need to, learn and put her attention to. The biggest decision she's going to have right away is after the 2020 season. What is the fate of Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia? That's the biggest decision because that's where the biggest unrest lies, in that this fan base is not patient. They don't want to listen to a bunch of spin saying that, Matt Patricia needs 10 years to get this done. You got Matthew Stafford. You got Bob Quinn, who's now going to be approaching 4 and 5 years on the job drafting. This is the National Football League. You don't get all that much time to get your roster in place. So Sheila Ford Hamp, I think, understands that she's not going to make a bunch of unilateral decisions on her own. She's going to consult on the big things. But at the same time, I would, in 2020, the football operations are going to be conducted by Bob Quinn, and we can have a fun discussion about what y'all think about what he's doing.
Yeah, and we have definitely had plenty of those over our time on the round table.
Amen.
That is for
Amen.
sure. All right, J-Mo, what about you? What do you want to ask John?
Well, I mean, I'm sure all of our listeners can expect this. And I do want to say, John, you're definitely the most energetic by now. Like, I'm so entertained just listening to your answers, man. Like,
I agree.
But look,
Me too.
I'm obsessed with this, and everyone knows. So I want to know why haven't the Lions paid Kenny Golladay? Will we pay Kenny Golladay? And do you think he's a top 10 wide receiver who deserves to be paid? Because my thing is, only people I've seen the Lions really pay for a long time was Calvin Johnson and Matthew Stafford. We let Slay go. We let Sue go. If we let Kenny Golladay go, I don't know how longer I could be a Lions fan. So I just want to know what you think about that and where you think he stacks up with the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, first I want to shout out the engagement. Valerie gets in. I love the fact that you guys take live comments. So obviously, being that I'm reading it on my screen, let me know what you think of me, guys. I want to know for sure. I want to know what you guys think. I absolutely love the comments. Keep them coming. If you love it, hate it, I love seeing it. Now, in regards to Kenny Golladay, yes, he's getting paid. And but here's the problem, guys. And there's been reports regarding how coronavirus is affecting everything. One of the things that's precluding organizations from signing the rookies that were drafted and potentially extending contracts is these guys are not visiting the facility to get all the workups done. So obviously they're trusting what is being told to them from the players via their offseason workouts and things like that. But before you're going to invest heavily into Kenny Golladay, he's going to get paid. He's going to probably secure anywhere between 17 and 20 million a season. He's going to be up there. And I actually threw it out there because I love spending the organization's money. I'd make him the highest paid NFL wide receiver of all time. But when I threw that out there, Sports Illustrated and the Twitterverse came back and spit that back at me and said, no, he doesn't deserve just yet to be the highest paid. He doesn't deserve the big time dollars yet. He doesn't deserve Julio Jones money. I was like, okay, I can understand and respect those that don't want to pay him, but look for him if he does get the deal done. Bob Quinn's made these kind of deals in August. I think that, once this Corona thing gets settled and these guys actually get back in the facility, these kind of talks will be had. Don't worry. I think you can safely wear the number 19 for the next decade. Kenny G will be a Detroit Lion. He'll be heavily paid. But he's got to work on some things. He's not just yet a complete wide receiver. If you're going to want to make Julio Jones money, you got to be complete. And he's got to work on a couple facets of his game that he definitely will work on. He's got the potential. And look, he had 11 touchdowns last year with all the backup quarterbacks that were throwing to him. Imagine a couple seasons with Matthew Stafford. I think that tandem has the potential to get up there and be highly ranked. Stafford to Golladay, it rings nice to me, and it could be ringing nice to the NFL in the next couple years.
Well, I think that answer probably made J-Mo very happy. You feeling good after that, J-Mo?
I'm not at all because we still haven't signed him. Because we still haven't signed him. But so do you think he's a top 10 receiver? Because I think he has to prove himself a little bit more to get the Julio Jones money. But I'm convinced if Matthew Stafford stayed healthy, he'd have 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns. So
Absolutely. I think that he's got more work to do, but I know that there's some angst because you probably think that the Lions will let him get away or they'll do something to piss him off. Don't worry. The conversations have probably been had. They're going to show Kenny Golladay the love. Now, if you're Taylor Decker and you're in that camp, you're probably a little pissed off because they're going to probably make his ass wait until the end of the season to get a contract. They want to make sure that he's worth the investment. Like, I think Taylor Decker's getting the Graham Glasgow treatment where they're going to make him prove it a little bit more. Kenny G's getting paid. Don't worry. You pay wide receivers. And I think that if they can get the number fair, maybe in the Amari Cooper range, they'll work it out. I don't think that there's going to be a problem in that department. Don't worry, man. It'll be good.
Awesome. I love it. All right, Ryder, what about you?
All right. So we had this question the other day at the round table, and it was, are the Lions going to make a big move in as far as trading or free agency? Because there's been a lot of talk that, maybe we trade for Jamal Adams or Yannick Ngakoue, or maybe we sign Everson Griffin. I'd like to hear your opinions on that and whether you think the Lions are going to make that big splash move.
Oh, man, I think you lit the fuse, my friend. Look, I run a Detroit Lions site, okay? And obviously, the important things is to get readers, to build engagement, right? And so I'm constantly in there. What do you guys think about Jamal Adams? What do you guys think about Jadeveon Clowney? What do you guys think about Ngakoue from the Jaguars, right? And over there, each, in the network, there are other teams that have, organizations that they're running and other team sites. And the Cowboys are involved in everything, and it's just like you look over and they're like, they make so much news. And here in Detroit, I'm begging, okay? I'm begging for the Lions because look at the framework I'm operating, okay? If we're going to be the Patriots, if Bob Quinn's going to act and sell this Patriot way kind of thing, right? Let's look at what's happening. Where's the splashy free agent troublemaking signing? I mean, the Patriots signed AB, they signed Randy Moss, they signed troubled players. Where's that here in Detroit? I'll take one. Give me Clowney. Give me Griffin. Give me something. Give me something juicy to write about instead of me speculating every single day about these free agents. The answer is no. They got a bunch of cap room, but they're keeping it in their pockets for Kenny G. They're not making the move that I need them to make. So no, I don't think that. All of them. I would take Antonio Brown. I would take Josh Gordon. I would take them all. You need talent. You need more talent. And what Bob Quinn, and I truly believe, in my opinion, Bob Quinn, if he didn't have to answer to ownership, he would have some of these guys in here. But he's trying to run a clean ship. He doesn't want no guys causing any trouble. He doesn't want to have to answer to this PC police out there. Look, I don't have to worry about that. I can say, go out and get some more talent. The Lions lack high-end talent. So to answer your question, no, they're not going to sign anybody. They're going to be boring. They're going to be tight-lipped, and they're going to be.
Would you take Antonio Brown though? Like seriously?
Yes.
You would take him on this team. You would be like, that is good for the Lions.
Absolutely. Look, this is a guy that has breakaway speed. Dude, this is one of the elite wide receivers in the league. You don't think that Stafford could work with Antonio Brown to get him open? Darrell Bevel? Look, eventually speaking, in football, you got to take chances. And you got to say, okay, if you can get one season out of Antonio Brown where you get that magical run and he gives you 15 touchdowns, that takes the pressure off Hawkinson. That takes the pressure off KG. That makes Danny Amendola that much better. So, yeah, you're risking him being out in the streets on IG Live, making a fool of himself in Detroit. But I'll take that chance. I'm not trying to run a church. I'm trying to win football games. And the opportunity for me is to say that with all these guys that you've been bringing here, they're getting me 3 to 10 wins. I'm okay to say bring in some troublemakers and let's try to shoot for 13 wins and home field advantage and number 1 seed. I've already seen in my 40 years of life this nonsense of who you've been bringing in. Go out there and take a chance, because if it doesn't work, you just cut their ass. You know, where's that side of the Patriot way? That side hasn't happened, and I just think that the opportunities to go out and get some higher end talent haven't been there. And as a site owner, it pisses me off because I want some more interesting things to write about. And so the question that you asked is a very good one. And outside of my needing better content, obviously, I think that the team would be better if they went out and looked at a couple high-end players that could come in here and at least improve the pass rush. Why haven't they brought in Griffin? Why haven't they looked at Clowney? Why haven't there are rumors that they're coming here? Hell, just throw out a rumor. They lock everything down so much, we can't even get a sniff of a rumor in Detroit. My God.
I just want to say this, and I want to, John, I just love you, man. Listen, y'all don't understand. I'm going to show y'all how crazy what he's saying makes sense, right? So the Dallas Cowboys, when they brought in Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy Johnson and were trying to figure out how they want to take that next step, there was one player that Jimmy Johnson said, no matter what, I want this player. I don't care he's a troublemaker. I think he can do wonders for us, right? And that was Haley. And they brought Haley in there, and all Haley did was destroy everything in front of him. Haley would get in trouble, and the Dallas Cowboys would be right behind him, like, yeah, he got a penalty for unnecessary roughness. Like, maybe the guy should have looked around the corner. Like, he's literally saying to y'all that we need a bad guy. We need somebody that people respect, fear, and revere. We had one at one point in time. We didn't pay him, but we have not even so much as threw out a rumor to throw people off of what's going on. I just want to let you know I love you, man. It's like my heart.
I've been saying that the Lions need to make a power move, and I've just been saying it, like, go all in for once in y'all damn lives. Because if it don't work, well, it ain't worked the last 35 years anyway. So go all in.
Exactly. You've been safe your whole lives. You've been safe. I understand. And here's the part that you have to also consider when you look at their side. There's a culture now that is hyper-focused on everything these teams are doing, and the media attention is something that the Lions don't want. They want to keep it tight. They want to keep it very professional. And I just want to, rewind life back to when it was like 2013 and 12, when not everybody was on everybody's ass and everybody was just hyper-focused on everything. I want to go back to that time, and I just wish that the Lions, like you said, I just wish that they would take a look and take a chance on a couple more guys that have talent, because what they're building is good. But eventually, you're also dealing with a fan base that doesn't want another 6-year rebuild. You could jumpstart the winning by bringing in one or two guys that potentially could be a risk that you think can come out here and handle business. But the Lions are shying away from that. It's quite clear that's what they're doing. And look at it like this, okay? If you're going to move on from Darius Slay only to bring in a rookie, Darius Slay is better than Okudah at this point in time. And so you moved on from him because what? He spoke his mind and he wanted to speak up a little bit on some of the defensive schemes, and he was out there and he had a personality. The Lions in 2020 would have been better with Darius Slay than they're going to be with Jeff Okudah. So we got to live with that.
I knew that was going to open up a can of worms.
Everybody knows that, though.
No, everybody don't know that. We got a lot of delusional fans. Please repeat that one more time. They're better in 2020. One more time for my spirit.
Absolutely.
For my spirit.
In 2020. Now, if you're looking for 5 years, of course, you need Okudah. But for 2020, if you're desperate, you need Darius Slay. I mean, come on. Now, here's the problem that those that are against Slay are looking at. They're like, well, he gave up a bunch more passes. He made a couple more critical mistakes. You know what Darius Slay is going to tell you? He's going to tell you that pass rush was so stinking god-awful, you wanted me to cover for damn near 25 seconds. Look, you guys remember this quote, okay? In the entire look, a lot of things were said last year. One quote needs to stick in all of the listeners' minds. Dak Prescott, after the Dallas game, said, y'all, I had the opportunity to read and survey the field 2 and 3 times. What does that tell you? That means there was no pass rush. And in the NFL, you can't expect your cornerbacks to cover these guys forever. And Darius Slay was more than serviceable. He had great numbers. And in 2020, look, the big thing that you got to say is that the money that he got was ridiculous, and it wouldn't have been good in year 2 and 3. But I would have paid it. I would have made him the highest paid corner. It shows the locker room you're serious about winning, and you take the loss in year 2 and 3. You need it now. So I would have kept Darius Slay, and I say this. Jeff Okudah is going to have a rude awakening. The NFL is not made for corners. They throw flags if you breathe on a wide receiver. So he's going to get welcomed to the NFL real quick. And in my mind, I would have kept Darius Slay for a couple years. You could even consider making him a career Lion.
You guys, did Luke sneak into John's body somehow and I just missed it? Because it sounds
Hey, when the body snatcher happens, it happens, okay? I'm just saying, this might have been one of those moments.
Well, I'll say this then. John and Luke preach the truth here on the round table. Every week,
right.
baby. That's what happens.
That's right.
You guys, John is preaching for sure. Everybody in the chat, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure that you're throwing crazy emojis in the comments section and putting stuff in the chat for John. He is spitting right now to everybody. This is crazy. We've made it through one round of questions. Make sure you like this video, you guys. We'll move to the second round. We'll start with you again, Jim.
All right. NFC North. We have never won the NFC North. Do we have any chance to win the NFC North this year, 2020?
Oh, man. Well, can you get Aaron Rodgers to get hurt again? Can you get a couple more injuries? The thing that I would say is this. It's tough sitting here now to expect that because I look at what the Vikings did, and they already started off as a better team, and they added draft picks galore. And look, quite frankly, you got to look at it. I'm not a homer. I'm a fan of the Lions. That's my background. I'm a guy that has watched the Lions from the time I was like 7 years old, and I'm now 41. And we've sit here, and each season we have the hope that, and it's fun that we get to kind of prognosticate and kind of think about how the season could go. And every year we're like, you know what? If Swift takes care of business, if Stafford stays healthy, if all this good stuff happens, then the Lions have a chance to win it all and get to the postseason. But then, a couple weeks happen and something crazy happens that goes against the Lions and some weird stuff happens. But, to look at the division, the Packers and the Vikings are just, quite frankly, better than the Lions. Now, the Lions just have to make small goals to get out of the basement. I mean, Matt Patricia's finished the last 2 years in last place in the NFC North. And that's embarrassing, to say the least, because you got the Bears who've had a quarterback that the whole league thinks stinks. But then he plays the Lions and he comes in and torches Matt Patricia's defense. So you're telling me that the Lions can't be better than the Bears? And you just look at it top to bottom, the Lions would have to have a lot of things go right in order for them to win the division. You're talking about injuries happening. You're talking about all the Lions staying healthy. But for those that are looking for some hope, the Lions have a chance to have a much better season than a 3-win year. And you look at it like this. If Matt Patricia, and I know we've heard it in other outlets and people have said it, if Matt Patricia can fix that defense to just be respectable, the Lions were in a lot of games last year. They played well against the Chiefs. They were in a lot of early games and they looked presentable. And then their injuries happened and the season got derailed. But, looking at what the NFC North has brought to the table, you could look at the Packers and say, that draft that they had was pretty god awful. But for me, the team you got to worry about is the Vikings because they play football the right way. Smash mouth football, nice game manager in, their quarterback, Kirk Cousins. They got great coaching and they built well through the trenches. They've had a couple of key losses. Could that be enough for the Lions to slide in? I think top end, you could see the Lions finish second. But I think that right now, heading into the season, you just got to look at the Lions as a seventh place, contender to get into the playoffs, to sneak in. Division winner, hell, I know people laugh. I'd throw a banner up there. Shoot. You know what I mean? If they get to win the division this year, or they get to the playoffs, I'll throw a banner up there. It's one of those things where success has been such a struggle for this team. It shouldn't take that long, a couple decades in between division wins. But that's the Lions' case. I think that even finishing second, we should all be celebrating.
I'm definitely celebrating if we finish second. I mean, compared to I want them to take first. You know that, Jim. Like I think this is the year, if any, the division is open enough for anything to happen. So I definitely think that it's possible. But man, I'm still just tired of finishing last.
How sad is that we have to expect to be second out of 4 teams and think that's good?
We are what they call lionized.
Terrible.
We are what they call lionized. But Luke, go ahead with another question.
Wow.
Man, I got so many, and it's like I feel like if I answer it, John's gonna finish the question for me. You know what? I'm gonna go in a different direction with this one because I think that this is good for the conversation. It's good to have it. What are you hearing when it comes to the Detroit Lions run game commitment this season and the utilization of tight ends? They grossly underutilized tight ends last season, and it all falls on the shoulders of Darrell Bevell. I don't think Matt Patricia one bit stepped on the foot of Darrell Bevell when it came to that offense. So my question is, what are you hearing, or what are your thoughts on the Lions committing to the run this season and the utilization of the tight end?
Absolutely. That's a really good question because it speaks to what the scheme will be and how the Lions want to operate. Okay, look, everybody that's watching the Lions knows if Stafford goes down, Chase Daniel, we can all sit back and laugh because he's not going to get a win. He'll hand the ball off and he'll just be a guy that's highly paid. And he's sitting in the driver's seat with the best job probably in sports in Detroit because nobody expects him to win. I'm trying to get out here, trying to get Cam Newton. I'm trying to advocate for a better backup. And everybody that comes back at me is like, we got Chase Daniel. And I'm like, yeah, so what? That's basically nothing to me. That's like a wasted check every 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know why people would tweet that to me to say, yeah, well, we got Chase Daniel. Well, if Cam Newton's out there, you go get him. But that's here nor there. In terms of the scheme, look, keeping Stafford healthy is so important. So what does that mean? That means you definitely want him to turn around and hand the football off. It's smart football. It's old school football. It's wise to do that. It's wise to hand the ball off and pound the rock. And here's the advantage of doing that. You control the clock. You minimize mistakes. You control the pace of the game. So obviously what the Lions are doing with Darrell Bevell, who in my mind is so underrated, and I'll spit this out here. If Matt Patricia stinks it up the first 5 games, I'll give you guys a preview. I'm writing Darrell Bevell should be the next head coach. You know what I mean? Because this guy has been a leader of men. He's been to the Super Bowl. It's an offensive league. So you just sit and wait. If the Lions struggle early, I'm writing it. Darrell Bevell should be the next head coach because he, obviously in Seattle had an effective run game. And so what they do in this year's draft, they went out and drafted 2 running backs to give them an opportunity to rush the football. And on paper, guys, it looks good. Kerryon Johnson, and then you got DeAndre Swift and Bo Scarborough and Ty Johnson. On paper, looks good to be able to rush that ball 20 times. But now, here's the problem. The Lions get into games and the defense is so bad, they're down 14-0, and you can't run the football. So if Matt Patricia can hold up his end of the deal and allow this, this thing to work, then this running game can have an opportunity to take off. It takes the pressure off of Matthew Stafford. It helps control the clock, and it really allows the defense to get a little bit more energy by staying on the sideline. So for me, I think that's what they should do. And I know it's blasphemous to say, it's blasphemous for a guy like me to say that you turn Matthew Stafford into a quote unquote game manager, but it's a delicate balance in terms of throwing it deep versus handing it off. It's safer. Yes, you have to throw it deep to open up the defense, but by and large, the mistakes happen a lot more. Interceptions happen, bad things happen when you throw the ball deep. So the Lions are going to be a little bit more, the word they like to use is a balanced football team. That's what they're striving to achieve, is that if they're going to run 40 offensive plays, hopefully they want to achieve 20 passes versus 20 runs. That's what balance means. And that's what they're going to try and achieve. Heck yeah. If you have a tight end that they draft number 8, you better throw him the football in that 5-yard route. You better get him the football, because you're going to have a bunch of people going, why would you waste a number 8 draft pick on this guy if you're never going to throw him the football? So obviously you got Jesse James and you got Hawkinson. They both got to step it up in the blocking. The offensive line has been retooled. You spent money on it. So to answer the question, yes, hand that football off. You're going to see it. And if they go away from it, it's going to be real bad in terms of the what's going on the football field. And to the chat room, yeah, I'll say it. Cam Newton deserves an opportunity. And everybody's like, no, he wants starter money and things like that. Look, for those that don't want talent on the football field, what's the problem with competition? Matthew Stafford, in my mind, either is the luckiest athlete in the history of sports, or he's such a good ass kisser that this organization won't bring in a guy to just challenge him. It's not illegal to go out there and bring in a rookie quarterback from college to challenge him. It's not unheard of to bring in the likes of a Cam Newton to challenge him. Cam Newton would be amazing here. If Stafford goes down, you have Darrell Bevell, an opportunity for a guy to run the ball a little bit more to get some first downs. I mean, everyone is so up Stafford's ass like he's won a Super Bowl that it shocks me. Look, Stafford is fine to be the starter, but this is the National Football League, not for long. And it means that, hey, if you get off to a 3-3 start, I want somebody else. It's been 12 years. So I know half of the fan base loves this guy and they love everything that he brings, this big arm. He's the best quarterback that has ever been, a Detroit Lion. You give him the credit, but bottom line, at the end of the day, if you're the CEO of a company and everyone loves you, but the company breaks even, and I could bring in a guy that maybe is not as flashy, doesn't dress as nice, but he makes the profit line go way up, I'm bringing him in. I'm bringing in someone else to try and do something. Look, Matthew Stafford may be a highly successful quarterback, but whatever the reason it hasn't worked here, you got to go out there and push this guy and bring in. You can't have Chase Daniel as your backup, period. Hands down, if you're coming to me and I go, show me the depth chart, and I go Stafford, Chase Daniel, and David Blau, I'm laughing your ass out of the room, because that is not a winning trio in the room. I'm laughing. I need somebody else. I need Matthew Stafford, Cam Newton, and a rookie that you took from this past year's college draft. I would have, I would have even gone and said, hey, if you would have drafted, look, the Patriots drafted the guy out of Michigan State, and we didn't want him. We were like, get this guy. This guy can't throw the football. They still drafted him. So to me, I think the two biggest areas that have been, neglected by the Lions have been the running backs and the backup quarterback. And for whatever reason, the fans don't want to upgrade. I will never understand why you would ever say no to Cam Newton. Never. You say yes, and you just sit back and hope that his market value falls so much you can make a cheap offer.
Okay.
Man,
After you say that,
Wait,
yeah,
can
I
I
want
say
to.
one thing?
Yes, I was going to open it. I was going to say, does anybody on the panel want to respond?
Yes, I got one thing to say. Look, okay, you can feel how you feel. Stafford is the luckiest quarterback ever. He's probably the unluckiest quarterback ever because he has like the worst running games and teams ever. But regardless of that, any Lions fan that knows football wants Cam Newton on the team. But you also have to understand that Cam Newton is Cam Newton. He's not a backup quarterback. He's a starting quarterback in the NFL, 100%. He's not going to take the amount of money we need to take so he can be a backup quarterback. And then that's why a lot of fans are like, Cam Newton, why would he come here? But of course, if Cam Newton going to take $5 million like, what's his name, Chase Daniels, then who wouldn't want Cam Newton on the team? But I think that's crazy talk, and Cam Newton is no way going to do that. But yeah, that's just like you got to remember, Lions fans on Twitter are they're not that bright.
I want to say something here too. Stafford, I did some research on this a while back, but in his tenure as a Lion, he has the 26th rated rushing attack and the 20th rated defense. His passing offense is ranked 10th average over those years. I can't see that we get Stafford's the problem. And for me, let's just get rid of our best player or say, that he's not untouchable where we can improve the rest of the team. I disagree with this 100%.
See, I think y'all all missing the perspective. I always do things based on perspective, and it's one of the reasons why people think I sound crazy. He's not saying any of the things that y'all think he's saying. What he is saying is it's time for a shakeup. It's time for people to be uncomfortable. It's time for a person to feel like the person behind them can take their job. When you have players, whether it be Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, John Elway, whoever, those people sit comfortably because there's nobody to threaten their job. It's only when somebody can threaten your job that you get the best out of them. People like Aaron Rodgers, who get to sit there and sabotage a head coach, can do that because there's nobody else to put in the game. And I think the perspective that he's pointing out is simply saying this: if you want to sometimes push a person, put a dog behind them. Like I'm not trying to be funny. This really happened to me. I was a really good fast runner. 100-yard dash, I can go fast as all get out. Put a dog behind me, I become Usain Bolt, right? I damn near become the Flash. You name it. I was faster. And what he's saying is whether you agree or disagree with it, what he's saying is this. It's simply put this. It's time to shake things up. It's time to make these unorthodox, these uncomfortable moves that people don't want to make because they want to keep the status quo. He's saying, forget that. Create anarchy. Put somebody there that can challenge that spot. Make it where it's a conversation to where people are saying, put in a Cam Newton or put in a Colin Kaepernick or put in this person. Nobody is saying, put in Chase Daniels. Nobody is saying, put in David Blau over Stafford. But when it comes to the rushing attack this year, you're going to hear a whole lot of put in DeAndre Swift over Kerryon. And so he's just saying, do that with the quarterback position. So while we may not agree or some of us may agree, we have to be able to see the perspective. And I get the perspective. Thinking outside the box is how you get things done.
We do, Luke. We just disagree. That's all. I can respect
I get the perspective.
But I don't agree with it.
The Stafford's the luckiest quarterback ever because they won't get a backup. Well, it's a lot of elite quarterbacks or top 12, 13 quarterbacks that never have a backup behind them for a decade. And I have no problem adding Cam Newton to the team. He's Cam Newton. Who wouldn't want a quarterback that good to be under the team? But I'm not under this notion that you put Cam Newton behind Stafford, all of a sudden he's going to play better than he ever has before when he always plays well for the most part. So I don't know.
I have to jump in here because, what do you think Chase Daniels going to teach Matthew Stafford? How to sit on the bench? Cam Newton's going to teach him. Cam Newton's going to teach him how to.
Cam Newton's teach him how to sit on the bench. He's always hurt.
No, Cam Newton's going to teach him how to read a defense, how to play in some big games, how to make some moves, how to look through the eyes of a starter, some experience. Chase Daniel isn't going to tell Matthew Stafford anything but, what can I get you, Mr. Stafford? Cam Newton would have the same respect as Matthew Stafford, and I think they could both elevate each other. Here's the thing, guys. Okay, a backup quarterback is in the meetings. They go over film, they help with game plan and things like that. You don't think Cam Newton can throw in a little bit of nugget on some things going on in the NFC over Chase Daniel, a guy that hasn't thrown 10 passes in the last decade? Come on now. Here's the thing that I think the Lions are doing, and it has been the biggest struggle, is they are worried so much about offending Matthew Stafford that they put this guy on a pedestal that he doesn't deserve to be on, and they haven't drafted his replacement. They haven't even drafted a worthwhile backup to sit in the room with them. So everybody's learning from Matthew Stafford, but what is Matthew Stafford learning from David Blau? Nothing. And you go forward and you say, okay, to this day, if Matthew Stafford goes down, it's not just okay to say, well, the season's screwed. No, the idea is you want to bring in somebody that has the opportunity that if you throw him in there could win a couple games and keep you afloat. But right now, it's all or nothing on Matthew Stafford. And for me, I walk a little bit. I don't need the rope to be that fine. I kind of want a little bit more of a safety net. And Chase Daniel doesn't give it to me. And the guy that they got in the third place spot, he's still young and developing, but doesn't have the intangible measurables that you'd want in a starting quarterback. So in my mind, it only makes the team better when you have a better backup quarterback. Look, the Lions went through 11 of them last year. They couldn't find one that could get them a W. They went through 11 of them. So either they're looking for a certain type of quarterback that's not going to ruffle the feathers, or they're not bringing in the right guy. And it's just an opportunity to say you improve the team if you have a guy like Cam Newton. Look, it doesn't have to be Cam Newton. It just has to be better than Chase Daniel. And that's why that contract is so whack. It's such a terrible contract that you say this. And to, I believe it's Jim that doesn't want to take away the best player on the team. Look, I'm a guy that's pro tank. So in my mind, if Stafford's not on this roster again in 2020, then there's a guy sitting there, at Clemson that has that long, luscious hair that people are loving, and Trevor Lawrence. I'm all for starting anew with a young quarterback. So for me, if you lose Matthew Stafford and he's not there, if you're winning 5 to 8 games with him, look, you can go in a different direction. A lot of the teams in the National Football League are going in the younger route. Look, remember, guys, the Patriot way was built off of Tom Brady. When he won that first Super Bowl, was he an experienced vet? No. And this has been my thing that I've been saying lately in my head, that this is the first time I'm going to say publicly. Right now, the Lions are sitting on Drew Bledsoe, and we're all begging for Tom Brady. And look, I'm not advocating for anybody to get hurt, but if some young cat can come in here and steal this man's job, I'd be all for it, because right now we're paying a bloated Drew Bledsoe to come in here and have a big arm and do nothing. And I'm waiting for that young cat to come in here. And it would have been great if it was David Blau. It would have been a funny story, but who's going to believe a guy from Purdue is going to come in and save the Lions? But the Lions aren't willing to give it a chance. If Matthew Stafford goes down, the season's done. But right now, in the Patriot model, you guys got Drew Bledsoe, and I'm begging and demanding, go out and get your Tom Brady, and let's make it happen. But to say that, to settle on a Chase Daniel is the height of ridiculousness. And to say that Stafford is the best player on a team that wins 5 games, who gives a crap?
And I'm just saying, let's get the other positions. Let's get the other positions, addressed, and then let's see what happens.
Okay, Jim, I'm going to ask you this.
Tell me another team that's won with a running game that's ranked 17th, the highest in their entire career.
Jim, you can't build a complete football team with things that are going on. Okay, at some point, Aaron Rodgers took a team that nobody thought was any good to 13 wins. How did that happen? So you look at and you say
they had a top 5 rushing attack.
Yes, they did.
And top 5 pass rush.
And they had Aaron.
That's how it happened.
And they had Aaron Rodgers making some wide receivers look a lot better than they are by making the throws late when he needed to make them. So I'll say this in regards to Stafford, in regards to his future. They are trying their absolute best to get him every single weapon possible. This is a year that they got weapons. They got the running back, DeAndre Swift. They got the wide receiver. I mean, if you say that, in a passing league now where the league has gone to, you had Calvin Johnson and you had opportunities besides the running backs. Yes, I will say this. I'll give you that. They needed a much better rushing attack. I think that Stafford also has to step his game up personally and not make the key mistakes. Remember, watch film. And you'll see a couple times a game, he makes the throw that you go, oh, no, we shouldn't have made that throw. He makes that read that makes the Lions' job just a little bit harder. Yeah, he's great. He'll get you, a lot of good throws and a lot of good plays. But in crunch time, you got to have a guy that's going to be almost flawless. And Stafford, I don't know if he can get to that Tom Brady air where in the fourth quarter, he's just dropping dimes to everybody. He'll always mix in that bad throw or that bad mistake or that bad play that derails everything. So in my mind, Stafford's fine. QB1. But if you tell me you're going to move on from him in a year, I'm more than okay with that. You can be okay with them. I'm just waiting to see greatness. I don't see it. I don't know what you guys see. I don't see it.
I'm just gonna say one thing. Fourth quarter, and you talking about Matthew Stafford and not being reliable. Go ahead, Rachel. Like, that's crazy.
All right.
I can respond to that. I can respond to that. If you're gonna come at me with the whole notion of, oh, this guy's the guy that leads all the comebacks, well, you're allowed to start football games in the first quarter. You're allowed to be up 14-0 by halftime. You don't have to be down all the time. So
but you just said you wanted a guy that you could depend on in the fourth. We're not talking about leading Stafford. You can depend on in the fourth.
Stafford, no, you can depend on him in key situations to make some nice throws, but can you count on him to make the key throws in the biggest games against the best opponents? Come on now, you can't say that. You could say that, when he's up against the top end opponents, look at his numbers. They're not as good in terms of completion percentage as when he plays the crumb bums and when the team is down so much and he's padding his stats.
His best game was against the Chiefs.
You know what, JMO? I smell a future debate here somewhere in the future, right?
I'm in on that one.
John, a lot of times these topics that we carry on about, they become future debates. So I think you'll be hearing from Jim and JMO coming up sometime soon, and maybe you guys can throw something together because I feel like both sides are teeming with things to say. But I do want to move on so we can get the last of these questions in. Right or wrong? You've been pretty quiet over there. What are you thinking? What do you want to ask John?
Well, first of all, I've been quiet because it's just so fun to listen to you guys talk about this. But,
oh my God, yes, right? I'm sitting here listening, eating this up like I'm living my best life.
Yeah, right. I don't need to talk. But so I saw a stat earlier today or the other day, and it was that since 2011, quarterbacks on a rookie deal have made the playoffs 45 times, which is the most out of quarterbacks. Quarterbacks that have a top 10 contract have made it 34 times. And then quarterbacks that have neither have made it 19 times. So in your opinion, if the Lions get off to a poor start next season and Patricia and Bob Quinn get fired, they bring in a whole new regime. Is this Stafford's last year in Detroit and they just start over with a rookie quarterback?
Oh, you're asking me what I want. Yes, that's what I want. Absolutely. That would be the best thing. Wipe it all out. If you listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, you hear me say, I'm not invested in any of the 53. If you lopped off all 53 and brought me a new set of players, I'm down for it. What the Lions are going to do, the Lions are going to make a gazillion excuses for Matthew Stafford. Oh, this didn't work out. Oh, that didn't work out. Oh, he's so great in the community. They're married to this man. This man will be a Lion and will be the richest NFL player to never win a playoff game. He'll secure $300 million in the bank. He'll be the nicest, cleanest player ever to play football with no resume. And they'll make excuse after excuse after excuse. I expect them to give him an extension probably before Golladay. They love him so much because look, you have to read between the tea leaves. Okay. And this is my honest opinion. No reporting or anything. My mind is that we all have bosses, right? Bob Quinn has a boss that loves Matthew Stafford. If Bob Quinn was a true OG, he would have blew out Stafford and got his Tom Brady. You got to tell me this. Bob Quinn looked at Tom Brady and looks at Matthew Stafford and goes, I love this man. BS. He's just cashing a check and telling his boss what she wants to hear. There is, in my mind, I will never believe that if Bob Quinn and I sat down and drank a couple too many Hennessy's and I said, Bob, seriously, Matthew Stafford, he'd roll his eyes and say, look, Martha and the team loved him. He is the best, and I'm just keeping him. Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn have seen greatness. They've seen the best ever, and Matthew Stafford looks nothing like that. So in my mind, Bob Quinn is not a true OG. He's a guy that's cashing checks, loves his contract, loves the job. But in terms of making the toughest move, blowing out Matthew Stafford, he can't make it. This is an ownership situation. And it's a situation where ownership is like, we love this guy. He is perfect for our franchise. He is, a guy that makes some throws. He's clean cut, never says a word. You could ask him any different kind of way about anything, and he says the right thing. He is a cookie cutter Detroit Lion. He's perfect for what the Lions are looking for. And he's the embodiment of everything that's wrong in that he's not a winner. So in my mind, you got to go out there and find the next quarterback. It's time. Who's next? It's not Matthew Stafford. Who's next? Go find him. Scour the college landscape. Find you a 5th-round pick that can come in here and get some W's, period.
Oh, man, now I'm wondering if my dad somehow snuck into John's body. Especially with the Tom Brady talk. Like, you sound exactly like him. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, who am I listening to right now?
You guys can't. You can't tell me that Bob Quinn, honestly, deep down, evaluates Tom Brady and sees everything that guy does and perfection and results and screaming and ripping everybody's head off of, when the team is winning. And then he looks at Matthew Stafford, who's so, just a different kind of leader, a quiet leader.
That's exactly what I can tell you.
I can tell you
Tom Brady has Bill Belichick and our defense is ranked 30th. Come on. Like, you can't tell. You can say whatever you want about Brady. I think he's the GOAT. But if Matthew Stafford started his career with Bill Belichick, he would be a winner.
Okay, so then in that case, let Matthew Stafford find his way to a different organization. And let's try the next guy here, because for whatever reason, whether it be, not a good defense, not a good formula, not a good running game, the formula with Matthew Stafford has produced 0 playoff wins. It's just whatever reason. It could be one of those, marriages that goes on for 20 years where both parties are nice to each other. They're not dragging out fighting in the street, but they just kind of go, "Oh, do you love me? Not really.
Oh,
do you love me? Not really."
Basically,
And
Barry
we move on.
Sanders made one.
It's gonna happen though. No,
Barry
we'll
Sanders,
get Stafford like everyone wants. And then he'll win a bunch of playoff games and go to a Super Bowl, and the Lions will look like the worst franchise in history, as always. But go ahead, Joe.
But the argument would be that he would never do it here. He's not doing it here. It's whatever reason.
Not his fault.
He's not doing it here.
He can't do it here. It's the team fault. The team can't do it here.
Listen, whoever's fault it is, it's still not working with Matthew Stafford. So if it's not working with Stafford, I'm down. I'm a guy that says, hey, if it's not going to work, I don't want to pay $27 million to know it's not going to work. I'd rather pay $4 million for it to not work. You know what I mean?
So Barry Sanders never made the Super Bowl, so we should have got rid of him too, right?
Barry Sanders? Look, I'll tell you this in regards
I'm just saying.
Okay,
it makes no sense, man.
Listen, I'll say this in regards to if you want to look at why the Lions have struggled, okay? They keep people in the positions way too long, and what happens is there's not the overriding commitment to, say this, okay? And I'm a writer and reporter for a website, and my job is to deliver numbers. Okay. And come hell or high water, if I don't deliver numbers, then there's going to be an issue. Okay. So for me, if you've had all these coaches that have come in and general managers that haven't been worth a darn, and you keep them for 5 years and give them more contracts, then that's an overriding issue. So the organization definitely, in terms of what can they do to get better, definitely can surround Matthew Stafford with a lot better players. But at the same time, eventually speaking, when 20 years rolls up and he doesn't have a playoff win, what are you going to say? He had a great career with the Lions? You're going to say eventually speaking, it just didn't work out. Same with Barry Sanders. So I'll look at it like this. If the Detroit Lions in the next 2 years don't get to the NFC title game, what are you guys waiting for? Pull the cord, make the divorce happen. It'll only make it better for the healing to begin. Stafford's got to deliver, period.
Oh, you are making friends and enemies in the chat right now.
Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm loving this so much.
It's great
because usually it's me doing this kind of stuff, but I'm telling you, he did say something that I 100% agree with, which is I'm not married to anybody on the 53-man roster, and what he's saying is everybody is replaceable. If I don't get the results that I want, everybody's replaceable. I can respect that. God, I'm enjoying this. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button. This right here don't happen often. We get John Maakaron on from Sports Illustrated, All Lions on. Hit that like button. If you have already hit that like button, I need them crazy emojis to let me know you still with us. Whether you agree to agree or agree to disagree, understand that there's a perspective that is actually being supported in some light to why he feels the way he feels. And so if you are enjoying the show, hit that like button, get it up there. I see we was at 35 people at one point. We got the 30 likes. Let's get that higher if you are here. And if you have not, like to chat up with the emojis. We're gonna keep this thing going for as long as it's here. John, I'm just living my best life. Listen to y'all have this conversation. This needs to be a flat out open debate with me as the mediator, because this will be so entertaining.
Absolutely.
I'm up for
Absolutely. Hey, listen, set it up. We'll have a fun debate. I do want to address Armand. Yes, absolutely. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. And here's why. Okay. It's going to take me just a couple minutes to explain. In that, yes, I'm part of the media. Yes, I like, for the Lions to love me and want to talk to me and things like that. But bottom line, I'm never going to BS the people that follow me. I've been part of the Detroit Sports Podcast for since 2013. Okay. And I built the platform and I got to this position with one motto: whatever's in my head comes out my mouth. Okay. And I'm a guy that says this in regards to the Lions. If the organization hasn't won for dang near 60 years, and the same things are happening despite the change in GM, the change in coach, you have your franchise quarterback, something's wrong. And yes, I do get a lot of flack for maybe being a little too tough on the Lions, but that's because I want them to win the most. So when people come at me and are like, oh, you're a hater or you're one of those kind of fans, that's all a bunch of BS. I want the Lions to win. It makes my job easier. It makes the clicks go way up. It makes me even more passionate to come on these shows and talk about good stuff. You think I want to talk about a quarterback making $300 million that doesn't have any playoff wins? That's nonsense. I'm a guy that's from Detroit. I love covering the Lions. I love the Lions as much heartache as they give me, but it's not my job to blow smoke up your guys' butt and tell you, you know what? I think this year the Lions are going to win the NFC North. Look, if I don't believe it, I'm not going to say it. And for those that are our ultimate fans, that's great. Okay, but that's the ultimate denial. I don't have to live in denial. I'm a psychologist. I see reality. Reality is that if the Lions were to win the NFC North, my ass is falling out of my chair, surprised. And it would not be predicted. So if you're out there predicting every year, this is the year, it doesn't count. It doesn't count because of the fact that you're just a fan that's blind, given blind loyalty. I don't have to do that. I love the Lions. I'm a Detroit guy that has Lions gear, that's bought Charles Rogers jersey. I was a season ticket holder. My ass sat in those seats and cried and was disappointed during the Millen era. I shelled out my money. Now I'm on the other side where I'm actually getting some return on this fan investment, being that I'm covering the team and being able to talk about it. But, in terms of drinking the Kool-Aid, that's not me. And I don't think that's the fans of Detroit. There's a certain segment that want to be the diehards, that want to be positive 24/7, but that stuff is boring as hell. And that's not me.
And that's cool because I'm 50 years old, man. And I'm 50 years old. So I get what you're saying, man. I've been a fan for over 40 years. And sometimes when you've seen as much losing as we have, you just want them to get it right. So much respect, man.
We are definitely.
I'm sorry, Rich. I just want to point this out really quick. I just want to say this. The one thing that y'all cannot disagree with is the fact that he has a high standard for this team.
Yes.
That is something that I have been pushing as a fan base for us to say, when a standard has been set that 9-7 isn't good enough, hold their feet to the fire to that. That creates a new dynamic that was not there. If you say 9-7 ain't good enough, we agree with you. It's not good enough. Get people in who can do more besides keeping people who went 9-20, whatever, and 1. And the standard of having them be better than what they have been over the years, he's just simply saying that, I'm not finna be insane, bouncing my head off the wall, repeating the same process over and over, and then acting like there's nothing that can't be done to fix this. I respect the fact that he has a higher standard as a fan, as a writer, to say that the Lions can do better. They should be better. And if that means doing things that's not going to be considered popular, do it. It was not popular when the Dallas Cowboys traded Herschel Walker. In fact, they lost season ticket holders, and they fan base rioted. But guess what happened? In that process, it returned a quarterback, a running back, and another receiver, i.e. Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. And then what happened? They had a little success. They did something out the box. And then he went out and did what he said earlier, which was bring in that bad boy, somebody who doesn't fit the bill of a squeaky clean guy like Charles Haley. Then they went out and got somebody who talked a lot, Deion Sanders. They took players from the Lions. They took at least a few good players from that 91 team to get them over that hump. So it's just about perspective, people. And again, John, I'm loving it. I love the idea for the conversation. If we were debating this, I think I could probably beat you in a debate. But
it's a challenge.
I do too.
But I will say this. I love the perspective of saying, as a fan base, we have to want more. And it's one of the reasons why people was telling me, like, I was crazy when I said, listen, if the Lions don't do something that ain't been done before, like win the division, you scrap this head coach and move on to the next person. So I just love the idea that you're saying, nope, I want a higher standard, and I'm not finna drink the Kool-Aid. I've invested myself in this team. I've seen enough. We can do better. I'm demanding better, and I respect that.
Yeah, and it's something I see when, your commenters are really smart. I appreciate all those that are commenting and listening. It's really good. I love this format because you can see instant reactions. I'm not 100% blaming Matthew Stafford, okay? But I was one of those people back on the Detroit Sports Podcast on Doc and Jock when they offered him $27 million, and everybody that was blowing talking about the Lions and saying, oh my God, this contract is a steal, that this contract will be the 10th or 12th best in a couple years. Everybody's going to bypass it. You know what I said? I said, it's like taking $27 million and flushing it down the toilet. I don't care if it's 25, 26. I don't care right now, guys, if Matthew Stafford is the least paid quarterback at $27 million. It's been proven. It's not all Matthew Stafford's fault. I'm not saying that Stafford is the sole reason, but I'm looking at the formula. I'm looking at the mix. And there's been one constant in this mix, and that's Matthew Stafford. So I'm ready to take that mix out of the equation and try something else. It may not be better, but what I'm saying is, concretely in my mind, I have formulated the result. Matthew Stafford won't win jack in Detroit. So that's what I'm operating under. So when you operate from that, you go, who's next? Stafford is fine, and I think he could go elsewhere and potentially raise his game with something different without the losing all the time, without whatever chaos or toxicity emanates from Detroit. I just think that whatever the reason is, and they'll do documentaries 20 years from now regarding why Stafford had this kind of career. Whatever the reason is, it's just not working here. And so I formulated that concretely. I've been proven right so far. Maybe, he'll throw egg on my face, and those that have supported Matthew Stafford will come back and say, see, but then you know what I'll say? I'll say, you guys damn near paid for $200 million for one playoff win, for two. I want championships. So when that contract came out, I said, with this contract, I don't care if you're paying him the 10th best in the league. With that contract, Super Bowl. If you don't deliver it, epic waste of money, stupid contract. So I wasn't for it then. I'm not for it now. And everyone loves the contract. Is like, oh my God, look, these quarterbacks are making 30, 31, 32. The Lions are wasting $27 million every single year that y'all are paying for. It's a big waste of money.
These are hot takes tonight, you guys.
I'm loving it.
Just to roll into the next question, J-Mo, what you got?
I mean, even more than hot takes. Oh my goodness! But
J-Mo's showing restraint.
Now I understand. I understand where he's coming from. But I wanted to talk to you about T.J. Hawkinson. I've been seeing a lot of articles and a lot of people saying that he's gonna have a breakout season. It's gonna be one of the best year 2 players from his draft class. The Lions, along with him being injured, I feel like they underutilized him. But I'm considering, do you think they're going to move him to being like the number 2 receiving option? Because on a lot of the top teams, they got the tight end is either the number 2 or the number 1 receiver. If that tight end is good enough, I think he could be. And with Marvin Jones declining and getting hurt every year, regardless of how phenomenal he is, I think that they might want to transition to moving him up. But what do you expect from TJ? Do you think he's going to have a breakout season?
Okay. And this is such a good point in regards to the tight end situation. I think TJ Hawkinson got put in a really tough spot by the position he was drafted in. When an organization takes you at number 8, that means they expect some production. And what kind of production are they expecting? They're expecting that TJ Hawkinson kind of resemble Rob Gronkowski, going back to the Patriots, a guy that can put up big numbers. But it was so unusual, and Darrell Bevell did tell the media that he did go away from the tight ends. It was so unusual that after that first game, that the Lions just really couldn't get him involved just a little bit more, so that his numbers were okay for a rookie. But now we got the problem in that he had a severe ankle injury to end the year, and he's still not 100%. That's what Darrell Bevell said, is that he's working towards it, but he's not there yet. So that tells everybody that injury was pretty bad on Thanksgiving. So now you got this guy that has all the talent in the world, and you got to feed him the ball. You got to at least see if this guy is worth it. But I just feel like no matter what, I just don't think that he can live up to what the fans' expectation is going to be in regards to this guy. And, in regards to the positivity, look, I'll share something with you guys. If you write and report all day long that TJ Hawkinson is going to fail to live up to expectations, he's going to stink, nobody's going to read your stuff. So you have to throw out some positivity. You have to throw out every once in a while some belief in some of the players on the Lions. But if you ask me what's going to happen, if you put your money down, if you're a gambling person, the odds are he's going to be a bust. The odds are that he's going to get hurt again in game 2. He's going to fly and do something stupid and get another concussion. And the odds are, we want so desperately to believe that TJ Hawkinson is going to be productive. He's going to have that year. But the tough thing is that with this offense, you got so many other weapons that you're going to have to, defenses are just going to take him away. So I think that he's going to be a victim of the expectations, but I think the best way to use him is definitely get him involved, throw him the ball, let his targets go up a little bit, and let's see what he can do. He's a big target. I think the tight end position definitely can help the offense, but I just think that being drafted 8, that's why no organizations do it. No organizations take a tight end that high. When you can get, George Kittle was drafted after the first round. George Kittle didn't get drafted that high. And so I look at TJ Hawkinson as a very, it's an unfortunate situation because of where he was drafted. He can be productive. Can he be Gronkowski? You haven't seen it yet. But if they feature him, it gives him a better chance. But I think the guy that's going to get the love year 1 that potentially has a chance to be a real star is DeAndre Swift. If he can get out there and get on the field and be a part of that passing game, get the rock a little bit and show that he can make some plays, I think they'll favor him a little bit more than the tight end, and they'll figure out a way for the blocking scheme to help out the running backs. I think that inherently the problem is Darrell Bevell going to give him the ball? And he said he would, but I don't know, because he can be taken away.
Listen, y'all don't understand. I'm over here living my best life. Listen, John. John, let me just say this. I will say this: that two things that may have got overlooked in what you just said about TJ Hawkinson, about him probably getting hurt and him not living up to expectations and things like that. I think it's going to get wrapped underneath all that, because people are not going to understand the most important part, which is, are you going to get him the ball? He's off to a good start. He's at the same start. Actually, he's slightly a little bit better than what Tony Gonzalez was. But Tony Gonzalez had way more targets than him and played way more games. And he was off to a really good start if they could have found a way to get him the ball, but they just wasn't doing it. And it was funny because I went back and had to rewatch a lot of games, and there were times where he was open, but the way the play was set up, he was not the first or the second read. And I can tell that based on where the quarterback head went and how it looked in previous games. And I'm like, they keep going with it. So it's definitely on Darrell Bevel to get into it. But I can tell you this much, that if TJ Hawkinson is given the opportunities, the targets, and stuff like that, like you said, to give him a chance, I think you would be pleasantly surprised that he would be worth it. And I think if people knew what George Kittle was, he would have been a top 8 tight end. If they knew, if it wasn't for Rob Gronkowski being such a frat boy, he would have been a top 4 or top 5 pick. But he fallen asleep in interviews. He was getting hurt in college. So I think you're onto something, but I think that, it is a matter of, can they get him the ball, and are they going to do it? And now, like you said, with some of the other weapons in play, because I'm also one of the big people who believe that Huntley that they picked up, I believe in the 6th round, I think he's going to get the ball a lot like how they did J.D. McKissick and how they did Deion Lewis. But I'm just loving the out of the box thinking perspective that you bring it tonight, and so just wanted to let you know, appreciating what you're doing right now, man. This is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Absolutely. It has been an awesome show so far. So what I'm going to do now, you guys, I'm going to throw my last question at John, and then we're going to take a couple from the chat. So while we're discussing this, throw your questions in the chat, whatever you want to ask John, and we will roll from there. But first, I wanted to know, who do you think our starting guards will be?
Oh, that's such a good question, right? I think everybody here is still reeling from the fact that they let Graham Glasgow go, right? In terms of the fact that this was a guy that was just what you want in a player. He was a player that, brought his lunch pail every single day, and they totally disrespected this player. And it's so fascinating to look at, because you let that guy go and you let a player that was highly productive, was on the field, and you went and rotated him, and you devalued that position, which is just what Bob Quinn did. He made that decision to do that. So you have to respect it. But, in my mind, you want players like Graham Glasgow, but they want to, go younger and go a little bit cheaper in that position. They definitely are going to have a rotation, and that's such a good question in terms of who the guards are going to be. I think the one thing that you can discuss is that, they drafted Jonah Jackson, and they, drafted him pretty highly. So I think that he's going to be slotted into one of those guard positions. And I think the other one is potentially going to be Dahl. But, that's going to be such a fun, competition, that it's going to be absolutely amazing to see how it's going to shake out. And I think it's one of the big things that we're all going to see in terms of how the guys that are, like the Abushis, the Wiggins, how they fight in regards to training camp and what they bring to the table. It's a massive decision. It's a situation in regards to, this offensive line. It's been retooled. And if you guys are a little bit concerned, you should be. Bob Quinn has taken a stab at the offensive line now for a couple years, and he hasn't gotten it right. His first stab at a big contract was Rick Wagner. It didn't work out. You let go of Graham Glasgow, who many believe should be on this team and is better than Dahl and Jonah Jackson. But in my mind, look at Dahl and Jackson at first, but they're going to be rotated. That's what Bob Quinn believes. I think he believes it keeps them fresher, it gives them an opportunity to build depth, and it keeps their value down.
Now, wait, hold on. Really quick, John, are you saying that you believe that the rotation is the GM's idea versus the head coach idea?
Yeah, absolutely, because of the fact that in regards to Graham Glasgow, look at his contract. I definitely believe that, I'll say this in regards to the working relationship. Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia are best friends. They definitely agree on a lot of things. And so if Bob Quinn disagreed with the rotation, then that wouldn't have happened. So obviously Matt Patricia discusses everything that he does with his general manager. And so I think it's a tandem. I think they are so in lockstep. I think they might have certain disagreements maybe on some talent, but in regards to who's being in and out, I think definitely it's both. I think that, the rotational use of the offensive line is an organizational philosophy that comes from the general manager and the head coach.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
on that note, I mean, because I've had a lot of discussions about this specific thing this week. I mean, do you believe in the value of that rotation, or do you think that it's sort of hurting our ability to find consistency on the O-line?
That's a great question. And in regards to that, you look at it last year, okay? They used the rotation. Did the running game really do a whole heck of a lot? Not really. So they've decided to move on from a talented individual. This will be the year, I think, it'll give us a real good opportunity to determine if this is going to work, because they got another draft pick that they invested highly in on the offensive line. Look, you got to give them credit where credit's due. Frank Ragnow is the quarterback of the offensive line, and he's going to be poised to have probably a really good career, a real good find and decision to put him at center. But I don't believe in that. I don't believe because a lot of teams don't really employ that in terms of rotating guards in the manner in which the Lions do it. But it's obviously it's not a secret. They're doing it. And this is the year where we'll get a chance to see, because Graham Glasgow is no longer part of the team. And the running game obviously has to take a step forward. And hopefully, I do believe that. And look, here's probably the reason why. Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia love competition. They love not to guarantee jobs so that, they get the best out of a player. So these offensive linemen are busting their butt to try and get on the field. And I guess you could say that could be, a philosophy that gets you somewhere to keep depth along the offensive line. But in my mind, I'm always of the belief that if you got a talented guard like Graham Glasgow, who's on the field, doesn't get hurt, and he's, worth $11 million to another organization, and you took him off the field, I just find something a little bit weird about that. And I just think that the Lions will be better with Graham Glasgow on the offensive line, but they're going to roll with the young cats and Wiggins and Dahl and Boucher and everybody else, Nasty Stenberg. You gotta hope that they gel real quick.
Yeah, definitely. And we've talked about this so many times. I was sad to see Glasgow go as well. But I just want to roll into some of the questions from the chat. Ramon the New Age asks, my question is, do you think Tua would have been a mistake for the Lions?
Man, that injury jacked everything up. He would have been the perfect pick for the Lions had he not been hurt. Once he got hurt, his value went away. But here's how the Lions, and you guys all saw it, the Lions played it all wrong in regards to the fact that, they went with the approach, well, everybody knows we got Stafford. Everybody knows that we're not going to select Tua. So let's just roll it out there and tell everybody we're not going to select Tua. So it diminished the value of the number 3 pick. I was of the opinion that if you never were, then why not just lie about it and just say that we love Tua, we're going to bring him here. You're going to flash pictures of Tua all over, highlight reels. You're going to tell everybody you're taking Tua. Instead, Miami looks at the Lions and goes, oh, every little rumor that Stafford's going to get traded. No, we love Stafford. Absolutely not. We love Stafford. And the way in which that was played was terrible. But the injury, you can't. Look, at number 3, you have to bet on a guy that has little to no issues. Tua, no matter what, is going to have that injury situation hanging over his head. So it would have been a mistake for the Lions to draft him, because you know why? The second he stepped into training camp, his hip would have fell out and he would have been rolling, getting hurt. The second that he plays for the Detroit Lions, he's getting hurt. And period. I think Tua should thank God every day that he didn't get drafted by the Lions, because he's got a chance at a reasonable career. And look what happens now. He goes to a team that has an opportunity that also is being run in the Patriot way style. Watch him become a legend for another organization, just for us suffering Lions fans to sit back and go, man, we could have had that guy.
Oh, man.
It's funny. I agree with you so much about the fact that if Tua was healthy, it would have been something to talk about. And the thing is, he just wasn't healthy, so we couldn't take him. And I wouldn't mind. I mean, when you can get a generational quarterback to replace another great quarterback, that's something that you think about. But I agree with you there. It just wasn't something that the Lions were gonna do, and they definitely played it extremely, extremely wrong. But if Tua comes to the Lions, where Matthew Stafford has been sacked more than any other quarterback since he's been in the league, 2-year career, he done. And I was confident in that, which is why I didn't want to get him.
Absolutely.
Well, I just
Go ahead, Rachel.
I just put up Luke's question there for you guys all to see. It was, John, my question is, I love you. Do you love me? Please say yes. Fingers crossed. In our private chat, John said yes.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah.
Nailed it. Nailed it.
Listen. I'll tell you this, guys. Okay, you had me on your show. You extended an invite. Okay, you obviously seen that I'm a decent guest that loves to talk about the Lions, that brings some energy. But for some reason, for whatever reason, I don't get asked to do a lot of these. Maybe because I'm more of a background guy. I prefer highlighting people like Rachel, people like yourselves that are out here grinding. I'm not really all about the me. But I understand that if you took the time to look me up, to invite me, I was going to say yes. And I'll share. I told Rachel, look, I probably got, 45 minutes to an hour because I start my days off at 6:30 a.m. writing and researching. But because of the fact that I've had so much fun, 85 minutes has passed and I want this to go. I don't know if you guys can go longer. Let's
Oh, we go longer. Trust me.
Okay. I'll stay and bring it as long as you want. I love being invited. And to be honest, you guys know I love to talk. I love to talk about the Lions. And so for you guys to extend the invite, we're family now and I'm welcome. Hopefully anytime. Hopefully you don't turn this off and go, damn, that was the worst guest we ever had. And
No, I'm loving this. I'm loving it.
Oh, it's been so much fun.
Yes. So I'm here anytime you want and I'm sticking with it. And I love you guys. You guys are great.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Man, appreciate it.
We are all very glad to hear that. This has been a very fun show so far. So let's take the next question. Seth Walker. What's up, Seth? His question is, do you see a way the Lions could have kept Slay and still drafted Okudah?
Seth, great question. And it's a smart question because you can never have too many cornerbacks in the National Football League. But listen, I'm going to share with you guys a little on the inside. I was in that locker room for the first time, and everybody is super buttoned up. I'm talking about they were coached to talk seriously to the media, meaning, what'd you guys think of the game? Their answer would be, we just got to focus on one play at a time, and it's just one game. And they would talk like that to bore everybody to death. There was one guy that when he walked in the locker room, you were like, yes, let's talk to him if he's going to talk. And that man was Darius Slay. He said whatever was on his mind. And I'll share this funny story. One of the biggest stories that got hits last year was just off the cuff. He's just talking and it's after a loss and they're losing. This is the middle of a losing streak. Biggest smile on his face. And they ask Darius Slay and they go, Darius, does the losing get to you? He's like, no. Why would the losing get to me? Every Thursday, the direct deposit comes and I look and it's great. And he said that in front. I got it on tape. I play that at least once a week because of the fact that he was so open. And I'm sure that didn't make the coaching staff happy to reveal. And you know what he said? It was funny. He's like, oh yeah, I got to double check because they might short me. And I'm like, that is funny. Of course they wouldn't, but we all went, guys, every Thursday when he got to wake up and look at his bank account, it grew by $700K. So we were all like, wow, I probably would check it too, but he didn't fit the style that they wanted. And look, Seth, I don't know if you heard when he left, Matt Patricia, when he first came in, tried to motivate Slay in the way that Patricia felt was positive by basically calling him out and telling him to, stop sucking the beep beep of another player. And he pissed Slay off. Now, in my mind, okay, I wasn't bothered by that. Some people go, you can't say that in front of the group. Look, I personally feel the Lions were testing him to see if they wanted to invest the $16 or so million in him. And they said right away, they knew, okay, we got a talented guy, but he's not our guy. And I think it was a test because when you come in, if you tell a man that, you're going to piss him off. And I felt like Slay should have used that as motivation to stick it to Matt Patricia and say, look, I'm the best cornerback in the history of the planet. But Slay got pissed. He became a disgruntled Detroit Lion. And last year, he totally went different than anybody on that roster. I mean, he's really one of maybe two or three that spoke like that. and he just wasn't a guy. He wanted to beat Darius Slay. And once Matt Patricia said that to him, Darius Slay went, I'm out, period. So it was never going to work. Slay would not have signed for a penny less than the highest paid cornerback in the National Football League. So it was never going to work. He was a guy that spoke his mind, a massive personality, and the Lions were not looking for that. And Matt Patricia got his answer. He tested Slay. Slay wasn't his guy. They moved on.
That's an interesting perspective because I haven't heard anybody talk about it as a purposeful test for Darius Slay. I would have never thought of it that way, but now that you said it, I'm like, I wonder if that was the case. If he was doing that on purpose, poking him and prodding him to see what kind of reaction he could get and how that kind of carried over onto the field.
Oh, absolutely. Matt Patricia, guys, is a Bill Belichick clone. It's like they're the same guy. He tried the same things. He loves Bill Belichick. I mean, look, the pencil in his ear is a homage to Bill Belichick. Now, I don't have a problem with that, but here's the problem that a lot of these New England guys have is when they come in and start doing that, the modern day athlete doesn't like it and they turn them off. So what Matt Patricia would have liked would have been that Darius would have been like, F you, coach, I'm going to stick it to you, and I'm going to show you on the field. But instead, Darius Slay became very disgruntled and a little bit, a guy that wanted to speak his mind and act in a way that was totally anti what the organization wanted. And look, Bill Belichick is a master at doing that. You don't think he still rides Tom Brady hard to this day. He's not even on the team anymore. So Matt Patricia came in and wanted to be rough and wanted to be like, hey, I'm the guy. Look, and to his credit, he doesn't have a lot of wins as a head coach, but he still can, flash his finger and say that he was the defensive coordinator of a Super Bowl winning team. And he has a little bit of respect across the league. But for today's athlete, you got to be how they need you to be for 53 different people. So if Darius Slay needed a friend, you need to be his friend. If you need another guy that's like Trey Flowers where you can yell at him 24/7, you got to be that way. So in my mind, everything that Matt Patricia does is calculated. Some things worked, some things didn't. But I truly believe that Darius Slay could have handled himself better. While I loved it personally to see him wild out in the locker room, I'm okay with those guys that are a little bit buttoned up. You need a little bit of personality, but you don't need to go where Darius went. Darius was just open book.
Yeah. I was really upset, and I know I went on like 2 or 3 rants at the fact that because I realized what you realized, like, oh no, he's checked out, and I'm like, you got to trade him, and they put that stupid price tag of 2 first-round picks for him. I'm like, 2 first? If they call you with a second, sell and sell fast.
Right.
And I had a lot of people that took a lot of heat from people for saying like a second for Slay, and I'm like, he on the wrong side of 25. I don't know if you know this or not, but your value for him is not as high as it's going to be now. And once they got past that trade deadline, I say, I promise you, the value going to go down. The fact that they still got a 3rd and a 5th for him was still impressive, but they could have got more if they would have traded him in the middle of the season to some teams who were still looking for help in the secondary. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing in regards to a player like Darius Slay. You know what? A guy like Bob Quinn, you can say probably could have gotten a little bit more, but in regards to moving on, I wonder how he's going to do in Philadelphia, because I don't think that right away he's going to come in and because a lot of people are expecting that Slay is going to turn that team around into a contender. And I don't know. I think he's a nice piece, but I don't think he's the guy that you're going to bring in to win a Super Bowl at his age at corner. Please. I just think that you could have got better results in the 2 years he was in Detroit if, Matt Patricia didn't go down that road with him. But hey, that's how it went down. Another athlete leaves, but he definitely was a good quote, man. He was fun, and it's going to be a little less entertaining in the locker room this year.
Yeah, I can only imagine that. I'm actually going to turn it over to Right or Wrong again. He had a great question in our private chat, Ryder.
Okay, so I just thought of this a couple minutes ago, but if the current coaching staff, if the current regime gets fired, who would be your ideal head coach to take over for the future.
Man, now I'm gonna say I love you because
In your
I-
face,
I-
Luke.
look, my job is I'm supposed to be objective, right? I'm supposed to be a guy that doesn't have a rooting interest or anything like that. But I'm a Lebanese guy, okay? So I'm Middle Eastern, and so this year, the 49ers, when they were in the Super Bowl, I was like, holy crap, a Lebanese defensive coordinator could bring home a Super Bowl. So for me, guys, if Patricia gets fired, some will say go to offense. I'm like, hell no, double down, bring the hometown guy home. Robert Saleh is a Lebanese guy, and heck, I'll tell you, I'll sell out. I'll wear Lebanese garb. I'll bring the food. I'll be like, you'll be like, man, Robert Saleh, John is not writing anything negative about Robert. I'm telling you now, I will sell out for Robert Saleh.
Let me tell you this. None of us have any problems with anything that you're saying, according to what I know.
Exactly. This is a guy that's aggressive. You saw
Right.
it. And what sucked was his defense fell apart right when it was money time. I'm like, you know what? Among my friends, I'm like, that Lebanese guy would mess up right when it's money time. Typical Lebanese, mess up right when you need him to do his thing. I think it would have been great had he won. It would have been great for the Middle East community. I think he's talented. I think he's aggressive. I think he's fiery. I think he's a Detroit guy that would come home, a Michigan State guy. I'm telling you guys, I would sell out. I would write 50 things positive before I wrote anything negative. I want him. I want him as the guy. But at the same time, I would go with Robert Saleh and whoever he wants to bring from the 49ers, or I would go with Darrell Bevell if you want to go on offense. The problem with Bevell is he's not that flashy. That's why I think he might be a candidate. He's kind of straight-laced, kind of, decent personality, good offensive coordinator, would fit well with Stafford, but Saleh brings the noise. He brings the passion. Could you imagine a Middle Eastern guy, roaming the sideline for the Detroit Lions in a heavy Middle East community? It'd be wild. It would be fun. It would be great on that front. So look, I actually, to be honest, guys, I don't know if, I've said it or we've talked about it. I like Matt Patricia. I think I like guys that are willing to adapt a little bit and change. I want him to be successful. I think that when you come from the Patriots and you're willing to try and change a culture, come hell or high water, I like him. I think that he's smart. I think he uses a lot of words to explain himself. And it's hard sometimes to quote him because he'll give you a 500-word answer and you really only need like 100. But he's changed a little bit. Me personally, I like coaches that let it rip. This is football. We're not playing checkers. So if you're going to come at a guy and cuss him out, I'm all for it. I don't mind it. The problem is you're a defensive coordinator and your philosophy is soft as Charmin. And nobody here in Detroit, nobody likes it. No, I mean, you come to Detroit and you're bringing us rush 3 and drop back 8, and you're trying to sell that to Detroit. Hell no. We want you to blitz, and we want you to use that word. And even if you're lying to us, just come out and say, I want to blitz, and I want to blitz more, and no, he comes out, and what he does is he uses a lot of words to say that his scheme needs to be adaptable, that these players got to figure it out. Bottom line, this is a coach that doesn't blitz, and we want blitzing in Detroit. We don't listen. If you blitz and you get torched, I don't even think Detroit cares. But if you're getting torched, you know what I mean? If you're getting torched, rushing 3, dropping back 8, that's the height of stupidity, and Detroit hates that. Nobody in Detroit likes that. We want to see 20 sacks. We want to see pressure. We don't want Dak Prescott coming out and saying, I got to survey the landscape twice. You know what that means? That was the ultimate disrespect in regards to Matt Patricia, in that your guys couldn't even sniff Dak Prescott, that he got to survey the field twice. That it's embarrassing. And so that's, for me, is you're a defensive guy and your defense was the worst of anything anybody's seen last year. That's the height of embarrassing. We expect more. And so you can't go out and get 53 Patriots to run this. So the big thing for him is you got to teach this to Aquara. You got to teach this to the cats that you're bringing in. Can you do that? Right now, nobody believes it. But, for me, come hell or high water, I can tell you this. Robert Saleh blitzed, and that dude blitzed a lot.
Man, it's one of the things that I've preached when people ask me why I don't like Matt Patricia, and I say, listen, I go to games and I see coaching decisions that don't make sense to me, and I said, like the Raiders game, it blew my mind when I'm like, you rushed 2 people on the final down. What would you think gonna happen? Like, this ain't Madden. You rushed 2 people and dropped all them people in coverage, and the quarterback is sitting there. The receivers running back and forth, tiring up the cornerbacks, and he just got to sit there because he's got 5 blockers to 2 rushers. And I'm thinking, this is dumb. But I can tell you this much: the Roberts, I can never pronounce somebody's name, but the 49ers defensive coordinator, he still runs a 3-4 defense. I like Rex Ryan as another head coach because he runs a 3-4 defense and he gets results. And if I had to go to college, obviously Lincoln Riley and Shaw from Stanford are my picks. But I just feel like when it comes down to it, I don't want them to make Darrell Bevell the head coach because I'm doing some research for a video right now, and it's amazing to me how many head coaches they have hired who have had previous head coaching experience. And it's a shame that the Lions keep being the proving ground, and our current head coach, who is supposed to be a defensive head coach, I'm like, this is one of the things that I respect about Jim Schwartz. He's a defensive head coach. His defenses perform. Period. And our guy is a defensive coach, and we've had 2 of the worst defenses in the last 2 years of his time. And there's no excuse for it. I don't care if you change the scheme. The 49ers went from a 3-4 to a 4-3 to a 4-3 to a 3-4, and they kept performing because they had the right defensive coordinator going with the mindset to do these things right. Our guy got to do the same thing. So, like I said, you bringing heat today. I'm enjoying it. Shout out to Rachel. Y'all don't understand. This is Rachel's first time hosting, and she is murdering it.
Yep,
She's murdering it.
Yeah, great job.
Y'all don't understand.
Okay,
she's murdering it.
Yeah, I want to respond. I think was it Chriso that said something? What was your comment, Chriso? It was very interesting. It caught my attention. Ask it again. What was his question?
What do you mean,
Steve-O? Was it Steve-O?
Steve-O. Yeah, what was his question?
Let's see if I can find that. I do see.
Yes, thank you. I hope Unlin can bring some fire to the defense. They say that he's aggressive, but look, this is a first-year defensive coordinator. He's probably going to do a lot of things that Patricia wants. I don't see it. I think that Unlin can do a good job. I do think they're going to bring the pressure a little bit more. But bottom line, Matt Patricia doesn't care about giving up yards. What Matt Patricia wants is give up as many yards as you want, but when that critical play needs to happen, he wants it to happen. So many people won't like it, but I don't think he's going to blitz that much more. I don't think Unlin is going to be the next coming of a great defensive coordinator. He's going to go along. Listen, guys, what Matt Patricia wants is give up as many yards as you want. When it's 3rd down and 5 from the 23, you make the play and get off the field. That's what he wants. He wants to make that great play at the end, like the Patriots did to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, get ready, guys. If you guys have blood pressure issues, if you fans listening have stress problems, the Lions will give you stress. They're going to come down to the wire. They're not blowing teams out. They're going to be in close games. They want to make one more play. Basically, he wants to play 16 Chiefs games on you guys. That's what he wants, and that's what's going to happen. He's going to.
Oh my gosh!
And he wants to win 10 of them. So get ready. He wants to play it like that. So every week you're not going to be like, oh yes, it's 35-3. Let's keep the pedal to the metal. No. You're going to be playing in 21-18 games for the entire season and entirely in the National Football League. That's just the way it is. The Lions right now, even though we think they're built to destroy teams, they won't do it. They'll when they get to the lead, they'll just run the ball. So if they have a lot of 7 to 10 point victories, more than that, I'd be surprised if they have more than 3 7 to 10 point victories. Every victory will be between 3 and 7 points. That's how close they're going to keep it. And that defense is going to give up a chunk. They still haven't addressed the pass rush to the level that we think it needs. They need 1 or 2 more. That's what this Lions team needs to get to that next level. Unlin, I think you could say pretty much is going to go with what Patricia tells him.
It's funny. It's funny that you bring it up, and I'm sorry, but it's so funny that you brought it up because I was sitting there thinking to myself, like that Arizona game. I went back because I know what I saw with my eyes, but you know how they do the play-by-play when they write the transcript to show you what happened. Like
Yeah.
This happened on first down. I read that thing piece by piece, and with 5 minutes and 51 seconds left, I'm thinking all Detroit got to do is get any score. Field goal, touchdown, just be more aggressive. And you're right. This is another reason why I hate Matt Patricia. Where is the killer instinct at? Like, where's that? Like, I got you down. I'm going to kick you while you down, and I'm going to spit on you. I want that guy. Run the score up on him. Get it nice and high. This is why people like Robert Salazar, whatever his name, I can't pronounce his name, and Rex Ryan, this is why people like those have always made me proud, because they don't care. We want to score on you and score on you again. We don't care if it look Bush League. We want you to understand that when you came in here, we beat you, and we looked you in your face, slapped you, and told you go home and go to bed. That's what I want. We don't have that head coach right now with that killer instance. Go ahead,
Rachel. What? It seems like we haven't had that coach in a hot minute. I mean, I constantly tell everyone the Lions are so guilty of playing up to the good teams and down to the bad teams. And I can't figure out for the life of me why that is, whether it's coaching, because I feel like I've been saying that for as long as I've been watching Lions football. Even some of the wins that we have pulled out against the better teams, it's always so close. It seems like we're constantly relying on Matt Prater to put a last-second field goal through to seal the deal when we were up by 2 or 3 scores.
Well, I can answer that because of the fact that the league has gone more toward player safety. They're not practicing as much. What's the thing that you're going to see probably be awful to start the year? Tackling, because training camp might be delayed. They don't get to be on the practice field as much. So fundamentally, football looks differently than it does 5 years ago because the fundamentals are just not being there's not enough time to teach it. I mean, you guys remember when we got a chance to go out to practice, there would be 2-a-days. Now it's one practice, 90 minutes, and they get to cool off and hang out in their chill locker room. So it's a different sport because of player safety. Fundamentals, and look, everyone laughs when Matt Patricia talks about pad level. What he's really saying is fundamentals. It's hard to repeat it because they don't get a chance to practice it. And it's starting in college. The sport of football looks different. It's not as good because fundamentally the teams that are good do the little things right, but not enough of that is emphasized because of the fact that the modern athlete thinks they know it all, and they're not grinding as hard. They want to get away from the facility. They want less time to practice. They want more vacation time. And trust me, once they saw this virtual stuff, I loved it. I don't want to go to the practice facility anymore. I want to do Zoom, and ask from my office chair all day long. And so the players should ask for that, but it just changes the game because the game is not the same anymore. Fundamentally, even the Lions are not as good fundamentally as they could be.
Yeah, it's when I do my film studies, that's the stuff that people say I'm nitpicking, and I'm like,
no, don't listen to people. Don't listen to them. You're right. Your eyes tell you what your eyes tell you, and your eyes told you this team can't tackle.
Oh yeah, we all see the missed tackles.
We all see that.
Yeah. Or like with Okudah, I the first thing I noticed with Okudah, that there was 3 things that jumped out to me. One, I was like, who was the quarterback receiver tandem that was legit that he went against in his whole college career? I was struggling to find one. And the fact that all the routes that he got beat on were inside routes, drags, in routes, slants. I was like, God, he wasn't in most of those positions to even make the tackle. But he was getting killed on those routes. Game against Michigan, I'm like, Peoples was killing him. The other guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name. The other receiver, I know Jay Mundo who I'm talking about. The other receiver on Michigan,
Ronnie Bell, Nico Collins.
That guy, they was killing him, and I'm like, oh, okay. Even when I watched him go against Quentin Cephas, all Quentin Cephas did was ran an inside route. It was game time. So. But I look for those little things because that's what always makes me focus in on what they are going to be. Like, I'm not really high on Julian Alcor because I noticed that if you run the ball at him, he's basically Cliff Averill. Okay. So, run the ball at him, he becomes Cliff Averill. Pass rush, he's got a few things he can still work on in terms of stuff, but he'll be dominant in that area. But you're right; those little things do matter.
Absolutely. What'd you think? What'd you guys think as a panel of the draft? Do you think that 2 guards, 2 running backs on a team that needs defense was a little bit unusual?
I did.
This. Look. I hate to say this because I'm not attacking the player. I love DeAndre Swift. I've been watching him because I watched Georgia a lot. I've been watching him for 3 years. I watched him. But I literally told the panel we were doing a live show. The draft was later on. I was like, y'all, I'm going to think of the stupidest thing the Lions can do. I'm like, you know what it is? It's drafting DeAndre Swift. A few hours later. We drafted DeAndre Swift, and I'm like, they did not just take this guy. And it was a luxury pick. Like, I like him as a player. Of course, he's going to make our running game way better. But the DeAndre Swift pick had me confused. The Okudah pick had me confused. But the rest of the draft was solid, though.
Yeah, I was confused from this standpoint. I personally wanted them to address the defense, but everything that Bob Quinn had said, interview after interview, led me to believe that they were going to take Isaiah Simmons. And then when these reports came out that there was this rift that Matt Patricia wanted Derek Brown and that Bob Quinn wanted Okudah, it was like, what is now happening to this friendship? I thought that if you're picking in the top 3 or top 5, you take the talent. I don't care what you do. Forget me. Take the talent. If you're sitting up there and you are the Green Bay Packers and you got Aaron Rodgers, but you sitting up there and it's a quarterback like a Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence or whoever you think that next big quarterback, you take that because you're already in the top anyway. You might as well get your stuff for the future, and you can just sit on knowing that you ain't got to worry about this. So when they took Okudah, and I thought really hard, I tried to figure out what cornerback changed the defense. I couldn't come up with none. I thought they were going to take a running back. I think they really wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but he got snatched up by the Kansas City Chiefs. And when they took DeAndre Swift, I was like, well, we needed another running back, so I ain't going to kill him on it. The Okoro pick, to me, I did not like. Not based on who was still on the board, and I'm like, how does he help the defensive line? I don't see him doing that. So again, I didn't like that. And the other 2 D tackles that they took at the end of the draft, I thought was a waste because I know that they're not making a team. The Lions rarely keep those late round picks. They often get rotated between practice squad and called up. So to me, overall, the draft was like, did they feel some needs? Yes. I ain't gonna kill them because as long as they are Matt Patricia's guys and there's no more excuses, I was good.
What about you, Ryder? What did you think?
Okay, so just to play devil's advocate a little bit, look at what the Raiders did last year. I mean, their defense was really bad. Even in the game that we played against the Raiders, they couldn't stop Matthew Stafford and Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones, but they won the game because they handed it to their running back's name. I can't think of his name at the moment. Rookie out of Alabama, whatever his name is.
Bo Scarborough.
Josh Jacobs, man. Where are y'all football?
Josh
Jacobs. Yeah. I was struggling.
But, they gave it to him, 20, 30 times that game, and he bled the clock out, and he scored touchdowns and kept that defense off the field. So, could that be what the Detroit Lions are looking to do? Is if they can't fix the defense, the best next thing is to keep them off the field so they can't screw up.
Okay. I could see where you're coming from there. What about you, Jim?
I think the Lions, and I've said this for a while now, I think they keep drafting to fill holes that they create. And so they get rid of our offensive guard, and then they have to address the offensive guard position. We got rid of Quandre Diggs. We've got to address that position in free agency. So we keep digging ourselves holes, and then we just keep filling the holes. So we don't solidify positions and then move on. In this draft, it's exactly what we did. We get rid of Darius Slay. We get Jeff Okudah. I wanted Simmons too. I'm with Luke on this one. I thought Simmons was the better talent, but we went with need. And I think we do that way too much. I think we draft for need over talent just about every draft I've ever seen us do. Some of these picks I don't even understand. I didn't like the Huntley pick, although I think he's going to be a good weapon for us. There was an A there. I mean, there was other people there. And I don't know. For me, I think they keep addressing needs that they create for themselves.
Absolutely, guys. What you guys got to see is I did an article for SI All Lions, and I said that the picks rounds 5 through 7 just haven't been atrocious. Go look at of the 43 picks that Bob Quinn has made, 21 of them have been in rounds 5 through 7. And by and large, they're all awful. Not on the team, not contributors, guys that are just wasted picks. And that's 50% of your draft. Bob Quinn has to do a better job. Now, obviously, the last couple potentially are guys, it has a little bit more contributors in it, but collectively in his time here, he hasn't drafted as good as you would think from a professional scout. You would think that you wouldn't have a Tease Tabor on your record. You wouldn't have a Jared Davis on your record. Unfortunately, you do. And Bob Quinn, if you want to critique him, he's the guy that's putting the recipe together here. He's bringing the players, and he's got to do at least a better job.
Yeah, I mean, I was caught off guard by them taking Swift because I'm looking back into the past, and they took Kerryon Johnson in the second round as well. And not to say that he's not talented, but we've only gotten to see bits and pieces of that. And if I'm being completely honest, as grading how that's worked out, it hasn't worked out very well. And then to see them take, another running back in the second, I was a little bit caught off guard. I thought maybe they would address that later in the draft, if anything. And not really addressing the pass rush was concerning to me. And I couldn't really see where they thought they had done so in free agency. And like Luke said, with Julian Aquara, that's a question mark. That's a big question mark coming off of a big injury. So I think we were all kind of on the same page with the draft. As we did that draft show, we all seemed to be shocked by the same picks. And we definitely had different opinions about where people were drafted and how they were drafted. We could go a whole nother hour talking about everybody's opinions of the Okudah pick. But what the point being that I kind of see repetition when it's not proven to work before.
Right. It's like I said, to me, I'm working on this video right now, trying to knock it out again. I do work. I got family, kids, and all this good stuff, but I'm working on the video. But I went through and I broke down all of the cornerbacks, took it in the top 5 since I want to say like 95. I want to say like 95 is the farthest I went back. And I looked at all of their rosters that they joined, and they all had one thing in common, where they all had a successful first season. They either did multiple things like kick or punt return on top of also being a corner, or if they were just 100% corner, they all, and I mean every single one of them, all had defensive front sevens that was lights out those years. They played well enough to take a lot of the pressure off the cornerbacks. I mean, all the way down from Charles Woodson all the way up to Sean Spring. You can go all the way up to right now, even Denzel Ward, the Marshawn Lattimore, all them, they front sevens took the pressure off of them. And I look at the Lions and I say, if you're not gonna blitz, how do you get this pressure off of Okudah? It's a question that I'm trying to figure out.
And it's definitely something that'll be interesting to see play out on the field. And I know that we could talk football all night, you guys, but let's go ahead and take the time here to give our final thoughts. John, being our special guest, I will start with you. Give us your final thoughts, and definitely let the chat know where to find you on all your social media so that they can follow along.
Absolutely. This has been fun. This 2 hours flew by, and I'm looking forward. I'm sure you'll have me on again before the season, and we'll let it rip. We'll do some previews and see how training camp progresses and give you what I know. So anything you guys need, let me know. To find me on Twitter, it's at Detroit Podcast, one word. I'm part of the Detroit Sports Podcast. Sports Illustrated found out how wild I was and how dedicated and passionate I was. They came a-calling and they said, cover the Lions for us, and we know what you can do. And they gave me the keys to a Sports Illustrated Detroit Lions website. I've been at it now for 1 year. All the fans that have messaged tonight, that follow along, Rachel, the Detroit Sports Alliance, people that support the Lions have supported a Detroit Lions website, a new website in the first year to the point where I'm going to be at it again, hopefully for several years doing it. Give me a chance. Read the site. It's sport on Google. You can go to Sports Illustrated, All Lions, or you can visit si.com/NFL/Lions. You can find me or go to Detroit Sports Podcast. You can find me anywhere. Give me a chance, because here's the thing I think that makes me a little different than everybody else. We bring the daily coverage, the facts, the podcast, just like everybody else, but we're not afraid to tackle the tough issues directly. I mean, if you look at all the other sites, there was not one article that said 3 critical mistakes of Martha Ford. Everything was retrospective, beautiful photos of her. Yeah, we discussed the things that she did well, but we're also willing to dive in and say, what the hell is wrong with the Detroit Lions? And we do it every single day. And I think that the reason why we have such a loyal readership and the podcast do well is because we shoot straight from the hip. People that follow me know I'm not bought and paid for. I speak the truth, and I allow all different voices. I retweet people who basically cuss me out and tell me that I'm stupid. I don't mind. I love the haters. And that's what makes me different is I don't block too many people. I read everything that comes in. I enjoy the debate. I even enjoy the guy that thinks that Stafford should be on this team. That's great. That's your opinion. That's what makes sports fun is I don't sit here to proclaim to know everything. But what differentiates me is I'm just like one of you guys. I'm a fan of the Lions that got a special opportunity to cover the team from the ground up, and I'm going to let it rip. Good. And what I tell people is I'm going to cover the team when it's good. I'm going to cover the team when they're bad. I'm going to say the things that are wild. I'm going to say everything because that's real. And that's what you get at Sports Illustrated, All Lions. Real Lions coverage, no Kool-Aid in my department.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for joining us. You had great insight. Let's go to you, Jim. What are your final thoughts?
First of all, I want to say I had a blast tonight. It was an amazing, amazing show. And I want to thank John. Even though we disagree sometimes, I love your point of view. I think you did a great job tonight. And I am looking forward to more content from you and reading and listen to the podcast and those type of things. I want to shout out everyone in the chat too. What an amazing chat we have all the time. I'm so appreciative of you guys showing up and showing out for us. And I just absolutely love coming here and talking Lions talk with you. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate my people on the panel, and nothing but love, guys.
All right, JMO, let's hear it. JMO, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I had the mute button on, and I'm like, wait, why are you saying am I there? And I'm like, I'm talking. No, I wanted to say thank you, John, for coming on. He only allowed us to, have a 45-minute time slot, but as y'all can see, that the show has been 2 hours long. So I'm thanking him for giving us the time. Like as Jim said, we don't care who disagrees. We just about bringing the community and bringing all the Lions fans together. Just want to make sure everybody, you subscribe to all of the people in the description below. And as always, no matter what John or any reporter or any writer I talk to, until I see the contract, sign Kenny Golladay before I lose my mind.
Awesome. And next, go ahead, writer.
Yeah, I mean, this was a fantastic show. I had a lot of fun. John, I think, is one of the most energetic people I've talked to in a very long time. And
Yes.
so that's always fun. But, this is just a lot of fun, and I'm really glad we were able to have John on this show.
Absolutely. It's been so much fun. So I will go next. Again, thank you to John. Make sure that you guys check out SI All Lions. They're always putting out great content, and make sure you follow along with him on Twitter, as well as subscribe to and follow all the members of the DSA. I added all of their channels to my featured channels today, so make sure you check them all out. They're all pushing out some really great content. And as always, one pride, you guys. Luke, take us out.
Listen, first of all, John, thank you for coming on, man. This was so much fun. I enjoy every bit of this. To all the people who are watching, we appreciate it. Make sure you support Mr. John and the SI All Lions because y'all want to make sure that we keep this community growing and getting big. Support the DSA. These channels are linked in descriptions. They are linked under the channel feature, so you don't want to miss that. Also, check out our website. That way you can know when these videos is dropping, and you can, have your pick of the pleather. Plus, we are actively looking for people who are talking Detroit Tigers and Detroit Red Wings. So if you are one of those people who want to start up on YouTube and you're looking to join, and you talking about those teams, hit us up. We can do it. As always, people, I like to end the show on a good note. And so one of my favorite shows just had a beautiful comeback and was released on Netflix. That is called Avatar: The Last Airbender. Judge me not, don't at me. Okay, it's a great show. Stay with me. Stay with me. One of my favorite characters on the show is a person who don't get talked about very often, but he is probably the most sound person on the show, which is Uncle Iroh. So let me just give you what this quote says. It says, "Protection and power are overrated. I think you are very wise to choose happiness and love. There are reasons that each of us are born, and we have to find those reasons." And I heard that quote, and I said to myself, oh, this is something beautiful I got to share with the people, because what it's telling you is this. You may not know your purpose. You may be actually fulfilling your purpose in life and don't even realize you're doing it. But whatever that purpose is, take that purpose and run with it. If your purpose is to be able to help those who can't afford to get repairs made on their car, but you can do it for a low price, embrace that purpose. That help goes a long way. If your purpose is simply to be the best and the world's greatest listener, where you can take everybody's problems and lay it on your shoulders and carry it so that they can at least have somebody to get it off their chest or off their mind, off their hearts, be so to do so. Whatever your purpose is, make sure that you take it in stride and you respect every bit of it, because whether you know it or not, if nobody else tell you, you should tell yourself that you matter. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you subscribe to all the members of the DSA. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and as well as that notification bell. And as always, don't be no chump. Please do your research.